What's up guys, welcome to another video. Today we'll be talking about what you need to know before buying a smartphone. If you want to get the best out of your mobile device, please subscribe so you don't miss out on all the tips and tricks that I'll be sharing in this channel. Let's jump right in. So if you are going for a budget smartphone, then you should be ready to make some trade-offs. There are phones that have good camera but low processing power. And there are phones that have good processing power but low camera, or good processing power, low RAM, high memory, internal memory, and good camera. So you need to really decide on what is important to you. Is it camera? Is it RAM? Is it internal storage? Is it processing power? I would recommend you do not go below the Mediatek P22 processor or Snapdragon 625. Because those are their low-grade processors, but at least they are not the worst out there, especially when it comes to budget devices. Because of course we are talking about budget devices here, not the high-end. We are not talking about the flagships here. When it comes to internal storage, I beg of you, do not go for anything less than 32 gigabytes internal storage, because you will just get frustrated after a few months. So when you are getting a mobile phone, you should plan for something about 32 gigabytes and higher. And when it's RAM, the minimum you should even consider is 3 gig RAM. 2 gig RAM, well, it might serve you for a few months, but after a few months, the phone will begin to lag. And there are so many things that require RAM space, so you need to try and get the highest amount of RAM for your budget. So do not go for anything below 3 gig RAM. 2 gig RAM, that is if there is nothing else available out there for your budget, then you can consider 2 gig. But just trust me, if you go for 2 gig, in a very near future, you will have to upgrade your device again. So if you want to use a device for at least a year or above, go for something above 2 gig RAM. 3 gig RAM, 4 gig RAM, 6 gig is comfortable. 6 gig is actually the perfect amount if you want to use a device for up to about a year. But if you do not have the budget for 6 gig RAM, then you can play around 3 gig or 4 gig RAM and you will still be satisfied. Another deal breaker that people do not seem to look at is connectivity. What type of connectivity would you like on your device? Is it just 3G or 4G or even 5G? I know 5G is controversial at this moment, but you should get at least 4G on your device. Why? Because it enables you to access the internet at a reasonable speed. And once 5G is rolled out, I will encourage you to as well go for 5G. But as at now, let's keep it at 4G because that is what is available to us at this moment. Screen size. Of course, one of the most important things we do on our devices is watching content, just like this one on YouTube, or watching movies on any video streaming site. So you should get a device with a reasonably large screen. Between 6 inches and 6.7 inches is good because it gives you a very immersive content viewing experience. So I would recommend 6 inches screen for now. Talking about screen technology, we have LCD, we have AMOLED. Of course, it's not advisable to go for AMOLED on low budget devices because the quality of the AMOLED screen will not be so good. So it is better you go for an IPS LCD screen, not the TFT LCD, because TFT LCD screens have terrible view angles. So you want a situation where if you tilt the device a little bit, you can still see what is on the screen, as against having very narrow viewing angle where if you tilt the device, you now begin to experience some distortion on the images on the screen. So what I'm trying to say in essence is this: go for IPS LCD screens as against TFT LCD screens. Now battery is really an issue for most people because you see people carrying around very big power banks. Though power banks are good, but it would be best if you have the biggest possible battery on your device to reduce the amount of times you have to use the power bank. So I recommend 4000 milliampere hour battery is fine. But if your budget doesn't support a device that is up to 4000 milliampere hours, 3500 milliampere hours is the lowest you should go for. Otherwise, you have to be charging your phone 2-3 times before it can take you throughout the day. But 4000 milliampere hours can take you comfortably from morning till evening, where you have to charge your phone before going to bed. Software update cycles. Well, it's common knowledge that in Android ecosystem, most times you get 2 upgrade cycles, which means you get updates for your devices for 2 years. After 2 years, you are likely going to have to upgrade your device. So if you want more than 2 upgrade cycles on your device, then it's better you go for an iPhone then, because the average upgrade period for Android is 2 years. Cameras are good. So what you should be looking out for is the video quality of the camera. Can it record up to 1080p? Is it just 720p? Can it record up to 4K or 8K, depending on your budget? Because we are talking about things like Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus or S20 Ultra. But since we are really talking about budget devices here, you should get a phone that can record at least 1080p in both the main camera and the front-facing camera, because that is important. Because once in a while, you might want to take a video for Instagram, you might want to shoot a video for Facebook, etc. And by default, if a phone can record up to 1080p, there is a high tendency that the camera itself might be at least 16 megapixels. You don't have to go for the very high megapixel, because there's a technology called pixel binning. So despite the high amount of megapixel it has, at the end of the day, the effective resolution of that camera might just be 12 megapixel or 16. So if you can get a device with good image processing software as well, because that also determines what comes out of the camera at the very end of the day. If the image processing software is not that good, despite the megapixel count, it will not matter. So you have to go for phones that have a reputation of making good cameras and that have good image processing ability. So that's that for today, and I believe you must have enjoyed it, and you may have learned one thing or the other from today's video. Please, if you want to see more mobile content from me, click the subscribe button and like and share with your friends if this information is useful to you, and then we'll see you in the next video.